Hello and welcome to the Albuquerque 737 experience. My name is Jamie and this is the first in a series of videos that will document my building of a professional grade 737 cockpit. There are tons of videos on YouTube about building sims. The problem is that when you click on them to get some detail, they document months of progress in a matter of minutes. You miss a lot of the fine details and you miss out on things like what problems they may have run into and what solutions they came up with for that. So that's what I want to do here. When I get an individual part, I will do a video for that specific part. I will show you all about it, review it, tell you what I like and what I don't like. I'll tell you where I bought it, how much it cost. I'll also give you a list of the leading competitors so you can, compare and contrast and decide what's best for your needs. What I haven't seen a lot of on the internet is any kind of preparation for sim building. So that's what this video is about. It's about turning your desktop like this into this.
Let me start by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm 35 years old. I'm living in New Mexico in the United States. I've been a flight enthusiast my whole life. When I was a kid, 6, 7 years old, I remember begging my parents to let me take flight lessons, and of course I was too young for that, but they would often pay pilots to take me up for birthdays and things like that. Um, I was a backseater in helicopters in the military. Never got to pilot for them. Got out, did pursue my private pilot's license. I have since let it lapse. Life kind of got in the way there. After that, I went to back to school and got my paramedic degree, and now I'm making uh, a moderate, 40 to 50K a year. I'm not rich by any means, but I'm comfortable. So when I say that I'm an average Joe, I truly mean it. I'm doing this on a budget that most people would, relate to. So like anybody else, I started playing Flight Simulator, eventually bought a SATEC controller, and then got deeper into it, joined an online VA, and moved up the ranks in there and stuff, and wondered what it would be like to build an actual full-scale simulator. So you go and you look on the web, you find some stuff on YouTube, and you see this beautiful 737 cockpit, and you're like, that's what I want. So you're going to buy this thing, no problem. And then you go down and you start researching it, and you realize real quick that a well-built one, you're looking at 100K easy. And, then you start to kind of make wheel and deal. Well, if I get this, I can save a couple thousand here, and if I do this, I can save some money here. And you start to kind of make these broad plans. Eventually, you just run out of things to wheel and deal, and you find out that you don't even have the money to get it going in the first place. You don't even know where to start. So the whole point of this is to kind of lead you down the road of how to put that into a manageable set of goals. So let's talk about some realistic goals here. Number one, it's going to take years to complete. When you don't have the financial backing to just order parts when you need them, you have to be realistic about how often you can buy stuff. You also have to account for setbacks and whatnot. So it's going to take an obscene amount of money. Like I said, a good simulator is going to cost you 100 grand, easy. And while most people are not willing to put out that much money, you're going to have to decide how, what the level of realism you're going to want is, and how much you're willing to pay, and how much time and effort you're willing to put into that. It will take time out of your day-to-day life. You have to have the backing of your family. And I cannot stress enough, I say this all the time when dealing with people on my online VA, real life should always come first. So don't ever let your project become more important than the people around you. Don't forget to go outside. Don't forget to do things. It's going to take up a whole room. I live in an apartment right now, which means I have no place to put mine. But we're planning on moving into a house in the next year or two. So I can start with, some of the smaller components, and then I can build some of the bigger stuff in my dad's garage. He has a house not too far from me, and he's into woodworking. I'm going to lean on him pretty heavy for that. But you need a place to put this thing. It's going to get delayed. There's always going to be problems. You're not going to get the hours you needed at work. The car's going to break. Kids are going to need clothes. Just real life stuff that happens that's going to screw up your plans and delay things. You need to account for that. As we mentioned earlier, should never ever come before real life. Kind of beat that point to death already. And the enthusiasm for the project is going to wax and wane. meaning it's going to come and go. Some days you're going to be hot and heavy looking for something to do, and other days you're just going to want to skip it and watch some Breaking Bad or something. So, how do you organize such a gargantuan project? First step, you need to decide what your end goal is. Um, do you need something that's fully functional or just something that is functional but not aesthetically pleasing? Are you going for a full scale mock up? You need to decide what it is that you want. That's step one. Decide what platform you want. Are you a Boeing guy or an Airbus guy? Do you want to go, um, with a heavy? Do you want to go with regional? This applies to anything from building a Cessna sim to all the way up to the 777. You need to be honest with yourself about what is realistically obtainable for you. Do you have the money to buy a $1,500 MCP, which is what the Flight Deck Solutions 737 costs right now? Is that something you want to save your money for? We all want that $17 million fully functional hydraulic simulator that, like the Boeing plant uses. But I will never ever have that money. That is not realistic for me. So I want to go with a stationary 737-800. Most of my parts are going to be coming through Flight Deck Solutions. It is expensive, but for me, based on my budget, it's realistically obtainable. What is your budget? I mean, are you making enough to buy super expensive parts? Are you willing to give up quality to save some money? It's completely up to you how you want to deal with that. For me, my current my next part I'm going to buy is going to be a throttle quadrant, and it's about 3,500, and I want the full motion, I want the high quality, so I'm definitely going to be paying a little bit more for it, and it means I'm going to need to save up for about 3 paydays, so that's 6 weeks before I can pay for this. That is forever in my mind, but that is what my budget allows, and I have to be patient. You need to organize some kind of spreadsheet or something like that. I use Excel. For me, it just helps me break down into individual things what I want. Allows me to make notes, allows me to move stuff around, but there's nothing that says you can't use pen and paper or any other program. But in some way, you need to write down, your plan. Research all the available companies. Like I said, I came to fall on Flight Deck Solutions for a lot of my parts, but I'm going to many different companies for many different parts. So it's up to you to find what you want, what you're willing to compromise on, and if it has the features you want versus the price you want to pay versus the timeline that you're willing to wait for it to be built or come available. So now that you've got your Excel chart open or your pen and paper in front of you, it's time to start organizing this beast. So the first thing you want to do is make a super general list, just big main sections. So like the shell and base system, the visual system, which computers you're going to need, controls, stuff like that. Then once you have that list, you're going to want to go to the more detailed list. So break each of those down into its individual parts. So for as far as the MIP Glare and CDU bay for my project, you've got your mode control panel, your EFIS, your CDU, all the various hardware, switches, knobs, things of that nature, power supplies for the integrated backlighting, the interfacing equipment, landing gear level, flap gauge, all the stuff on the list over there. Once you have that, you're going to want to add specific details to each one. So now I've got the part number for each of those things I just mentioned, as well as the price. I've already gone ahead and converted this over to US dollars because everything out of the company I'm ordering these from is in Canadian dollars. Some things you want to take into account when you're looking at this is the currency conversion. Sometimes the prices look horrendous, and then when you switch them to your currency, you realize they're not so bad. In my case, Canadian, it always looks really bad, but cuts about a third of it off for the currency conversion. If I'm buying something in euro, then I'm actually going to be paying more American dollars than the euro listed. So that's something you always have to look into. One thing I've run into is shipping costs. The cost of bringing stuff in from out of country is pretty atrocious, especially the bigger stuff. The nose section for what I'm doing here is 150 pounds. That is obscenely expensive to ship, almost as much as the part itself. look into the taxes and fees associated with importing stuff from other countries. I have a little notes section here, so if there's stuff you want to add in there, like under the flap gauge, I was looking at sim aviation for a flap gauge, but I actually found something different. I've updated it since I made this slide. But get it as specific as you can. And now, once you have all that for all of your sections, and that should take a while, it's taken me weeks to build that list, establish a priority for buying. Things you want to look at on this one is A, cost, B, functionality versus looks. So do you want something to get the sim up and running, or do you want to buy cosmetic parts for it? Think big picture. You have certain parts that cannot be installed until you have other parts. So even though you might want that, say, yoke system, you got your linked dual yokes, I can't use that until I have a base built, because half of the mechanical part of the yoke is going to be underneath this base. So buying it ahead of time, yay, I'm going to have it, it's going to look awesome, yay me, but I can't use it. It's going to sit in the corner, and every time wife walks by, she's going to give me the look like, hey, that's an expensive piece of decoration you got there. And I'll be like, yeah. So some things that can help you out here is bundle to save shipping costs. I ran into this with the MIP Glare and CDU. I had enough money to buy each of those one per payday, but then the shipping cost was going to be atrocious. Whereas if I waited 3 paydays and bought it all as one kit, the shipping cost was much, much more manageable. So, I mean, literally $700 cheaper to do it that way. But it means I had to wait 6 weeks versus 2. Not a good waiter. But sometimes you got to bite the bullet on that one. If you have $1,000 to spend, or whatever amount of money, and you have a $700 part you're going to order, look at some cheaper items you can throw in there as extras, like, say, an extra gauge or a switch or something you might need later. You know, try to stretch your money as best you can. So here's my actual Excel chart for this project. Notice at the bottom here I've got different tabs for each section that I'm working on. For this one, we have the MIP. Have all the part numbers here, have all the prices in American here. Notice that there's some that I need more than one of them. If there were any kind of notes, they'd go in here. Notice the updated flap gauge there. The ones that are in yellow right here, those are parts that I have already ordered. They are not here yet, and this is just saying that this was going to be the next one out of this section that I was going to order. Got the overhead here, and then pedestal, and eventually when I start receiving stuff, I'm going to catalog it all here so that I can take it off of the other sections. And then here is my buy order. Again, we have the stuff I've ordered down here. Have not received it yet. And then the next parts I'm going to order is a throttle quadrant. Here's the part number. This is the website that I'm going to order it from. After that, there's going to be, you know, this from Flight Deck Solutions, and here's the part number. I haven't added the web stuff in here. This thing's a work in progress. I'm always adding bits and pieces to it and changing my mind on things. Notice on this one right here that I've grouped several smaller things together. You got a $75 part here and a $250 part, and all the stuff that adds up to be, you know, about this. I'm trying to keep the prices around this general range right here. So this is something I could afford on a single payday. Yeah.
Well, now that we have a plan, there's not much left to do except keep our nose to the grindstone and wait for parts to arrive. If you need to contact me, or if you have any questions, feel free to use the email down below, or you can write a comment on this page. Please remember to subscribe and like this video. Also check out our Facebook page. I know that there's not much to look at yet, but in the coming weeks you'll see lots of videos popping up, and over the next year, hopefully an entire series. So until next time, see you guys later. Have fun flying.